Thank you, everybody. My name's Steve Mock with Metric Insights. I want to thank you guys for having us here today. We're based in San Francisco, and John was kind enough to invite us to come out and present to you all tonight. We do what we call push intelligence, and in an enterprise, we let you know when the data you care about has changed and requires your attention. Our customers tend to be large, mid to large size enterprises. They're typically companies with big, messy environments. They have multiple BI tools. They've got multiple big data tools, multiple relational databases. We have customers in retail, in healthcare, in different segments. We have a lot of partners as well. We partner with a lot of big data companies. You see a lot of the usual suspects here. And also, we partner with a lot of business intelligence tool companies. As you guys see the demo, you guys are going to be like, hey, doesn't the BI tool do this? And the answer is no. We partner with BI tools, and we have a great relationship, and I'll tell you more about that as we move forward. The problem we're solving is what we call the BI engagement problem. When you install a new tool in an enterprise, you put out some dashboards, typically there's really high engagement right at the beginning. It's a shiny new toy, people look at it, they've never seen it before, and inevitably, the success of a tool can be its own downfall. As you have more and more dashboards, more and more places for people to access the data, as you put more and more tools in the enterprise, then people stop engaging the data. They don't know where to go to find it. And we've seen data that shows less than 15% of people actually engage in the dashboards and tools that they have in enterprise on average. So all this talk of big data, all the SaaS applications, all the innovation that's happening out there in data today, only 15% of the people in the enterprise are actually using those tools. So there's a big gap there, 85%, that we're reaching out to. We call it the last mile of business intelligence and BI and big data. The problem that we see is it's a few-fold. One is BI tools are particularly very good at doing analytics and data discovery. They're very, very powerful for this. Areas where they don't cover are things like human intelligence. Somebody knows something about the data. Somebody knows that there's an anomaly or there's a bad data point, etc. Typically, that information is in someone's head and divorced from the data itself. There's impacting events. There's marketing campaigns, things happen. Again, these happen, but it's divorced from the data and how it's presented in the enterprise. Finally, alerts. People don't want all the data all the time. Most people just want to know what they care about, and more importantly, only what's changing critically and requires their attention. So we at Metric Insights take a KPI approach, and we don't, again, compete with the BI tools. We work with the BI tools. Then we extend them to add these other critical buckets that are required for people to make decisions within a company. So I'll show you guys an example of what all this means. Cool. So we actually start our demos in email. And the reason why we start our demos in email is because if you create a new application in Enterprise and say, hey, everybody, come in every morning, log in here, then consumption of that goes way down really fast. People do it once or twice, and then the next day they stop. So what Metric Insights and Push Intelligence is all about is connecting to all the tools that are already in the enterprise, the BI tools, the big data sources, the SaaS applications, then delivering to people the stuff that they care about when it matters the most. So what you're seeing here is a daily digest email that a user would get. It's a personalized list of metrics that this particular user cares about, and it shows them what's changed. We're showing sales data here, but these can be we're a platform, these could be any analytics, could be financial analytics, could be retail analytics, could be healthcare analytics. And the user just on their iPhone, on a tablet, can just scan very quickly, and they can see for the things that they care about, what's changed, and if anything requires their attention. You can also see here we have some of the human intelligence and impacting events that we talked about, so it's all there in one place. The user then, in this case, you say, hey, sales is up a little bit. I wonder what's going on. They can click on a link, and they go into our system for the first time. We're all HTML5, so it doesn't matter what device you're on. It just invokes the local browser in the device, so you can use it there. And this looks like any daily sales chart initially that you see in any BI or charting tool in the world today. You've got some revenue numbers here for daily sales, and you've got time across the x-axis in the bottom. The difference is that we have context embedded in the chart with the data itself. So for instance, this increase in sales that we're curious about, we can hover over what we call an event flag, and we can see that there was a 25% discount offered for high inventory items. So now instead of just seeing a spike, you actually have the answer of why it's trending upward right there with the data itself for anybody to see. This blue comment bubble here, this is a comment thread. So you can scroll down and you can see that there's a Facebook-style interface. People are discussing this data point. You can actually continue the discussion. You can add people by email and thread them in discussion. And all of this is captured at the data point level with the data itself. Again, if you go back and consider every other tool out there today by SaaS vendors and other BI tools, etc., they show you a line that goes like this, right? There's this line that's going up and down, etc. People look at the peaks and the troughs and they say, hey, what happened? My God, what happened here? There's a big change. They'll have meetings, they'll send out emails, they'll call people. And in a large organization, that might happen over and over and over again in the same data point as different people rediscover the same anomaly and want to know the answer. So by putting this context with the data itself, we dramatically accelerate the communication and decision-making process in an enterprise. The next part of our demo is what we call, this is our home view. And each of these are what we call a tile. And each tile is tied to a specific KPI or metric. It can be from a different data source and refreshed at a different frequency. So for instance, this could be from Hadoop. This one could be from Salesforce. This could be from Tableau. This could be from a SQL server. And the idea is that each one of them are discrete independent objects. You can search them. You can just type in a search string like daily sales. And in a Google real-time search sort of way, it just reduces the tiles to match that. You can further say daily sales in honor of my previous presenter in France. And you can say, okay, we've got, I want to see daily sales in France, and quickly search through these. The key thing here is, this is a small feature, but it's a big innovation. When you see something you're interested in, you click in a star, and you add it to your favorites. It's like a Twitter follow model for KPIs and metrics. What happens now is every user in our system has their own favorites list. So what I care about might be different from what John cares about, is different from what our boss cares about. And the entire experience with our system changes based on what's in your favorites list. So for example, that daily digest email that you saw at the very beginning, that's automatically generated by our system to every user based on what's in their favorites list. I'll show you alerting here in a second, and all of the smart alerting is also governed by what's in your favorites list. This is very different from the traditional dashboard model that you see with all the SaaS vendors and BI tools, and pretty much every data vendor out there today. And it's different because all those are done on a use case basis, where people say, hey, for this use case, go log in over here. Oh, for this use case over here, oh, go log in over here. So they leave it as an exercise to the student to figure out where they're supposed to go every day. And in a large enterprise, and we talked to a lot of them, there can be hundreds, if not thousands, of dashboards, and people are lost. Hence why there's only about a 15% engagement level, is because the success of these tools has been their own downfall. So again, we're about push intelligence, taking what they care about and delivering to where they live. Let me show you an example of some of the smart alerting. So we'll go back to this daily sales tile that we were looking at. And you can see here that we have this trend here. So we can do a number of type of alerts. So if you're following a tile, and you have it in your favorites list, you can get alerted when certain things happen. First off, if there's a comment, you can be alerted when somebody puts a comment on a tile. So if your boss says, what the heck is happening here? That data point has now gotten really important compared to the other data points. So that's an example of alerting. We have some common threshold alerting, so you can say, let me know if a target threshold is crossed, and this could be a moving target itself. And we have a number of different alerts, but probably one of the most interesting one is what we call our statistical view. And this red area here, around this data set, this is showing 2 standard deviations from the moving average of this data set. What that means is anything outside of this red band is a statistically significant event by the definition here set. So basically, any data point outside the red area, it's something that has happened. It's an important data event, and you might want to know about it. So as you can guess, our system can send you an alert when there is a statistically significant event and let you know that your data has changed or requires your attention. We think this is fundamentally different. Again, a huge innovation from the traditional dashboard approach, where if you just consider this data set on a traditional dashboard, you might come and log in and look at this data set on this day. Then you come in again and look at it on this day. Then this day, and this day. You're coming in, logging in every day and looking, and nothing has changed. You're basically wasting your time. What you'll eventually do is train yourself to stop looking at this dashboard, because every time you go there, it's the same thing. So again, our system is opposite, where you can follow something, then ignore it, and then just on exceptions basis, deal with things when something interesting happens to the data. I mentioned we partner with some of the BI tool vendors, et cetera. Just want to, for the more technical people out there, show you a next level of depth, kind of our secret sauce, how we make it all work. What you're seeing here is it's a traditional business intelligence architecture slide, where you've got different data types on premise, cloud, big data. You have your business intelligence tool. There'll be an ETL process to build your data warehouse, and then you have dashboards and some very powerful data discovery tools, which those tools are designed for. Our secret sauce is really what we call a Kpi Warehouse, where we're really focused on individual KPIs and metrics, and we can source those from any of the data sources in the enterprise. We can source them directly from the BI tools, so we partner with people like Tableau, SAP, and other BI tool vendors, as well as from the underlying dashboards. The thing then is, as I showed you in the demo, is we bring in these other data types, and we can correlate the events to the different statistically significant changes. And then we add the collaboration, the context, the alerting, and personalization that enables a deeper engagement in the company. But again, this goes back to the question that most people ask is, hey, don't BI tools do this? The answer is there's some basic alerting and things in BI tools, but we have a fundamentally different architecture, and we're taking on this problem with a different approach, and we're being embraced by the BI vendors because of that. Show you one more example of, because we're the Kpi Warehouse, some of the cool stuff we can do. An example here is we've looked at this statistically significant data points here. So if you're in a consumer of this data, an obvious question you might have here, wow, something's going on here. I wonder what other metrics have changed. Is anything else being affected in the same way? And at our system, again, this is a result of our unique architecture of our Kpi Warehouse. You actually click on a data point, and then you can find other affected metrics. And this surfaces all the other metrics in the system, regardless of the data source, from any data source at all, that had the same volatility in the same time period. So you can just, you can add one, and we'll try overlaying it. And we can see here that, sure enough, this guy was moving about the same volatility of this other metric that we were looking at before. So it's a powerful tool where you can find correlations and metrics in your business that you might not have otherwise known were happening. And this type of stuff is very challenging to do with the traditional architecture today of the other tools that are out there. And again, this could be across all your data sources. You can find correlations that way. I've talked about how we partner with BI tool vendors. I'd like to show you guys a quick example of how we partner with Tableau software. I showed you the alerts. So an example, a simple example here is you can have alerts come from our system where we've instrumented a metric and metric insights. And in this case, the entire email here, this is an alert email that's been sent out. We push, there's an unusual low that happened on this dashboard. And we actually push the entire Tableau dashboard image down to the user and to their email. And then they click on a link, and they now leave metric insights, or excuse me, they leave the email with the alert, and they go directly to the Tableau dashboard where they can do the deeper analytics to look at, see why the data's changed, figure out why the alert went off, and see if any action's required. This is a great way, if you think about a successful Tableau or BI implementation in a large enterprise. There might be hundreds of users in an enterprise and hundreds of dashboards out there. Nobody knows that, unless you're looking at the dashboard, you have no idea if the data is changing critically. I mean, if you happen to be looking at the moment, most people say, oh, I wish I'd known about that a week ago. In our case, again, we can then send out an alert, and then with one click, the end users can be directed to the appropriate dashboard that they care about and take the next step that's required by them. So again, we increase engagement by pushing the alerts out there, personalizing to everybody's needs, and then driving them where they need to go in the enterprise. We're Metric Insights. This is an offer today for any enterprise, anybody that's interested in looking at our product. We're willing to do a free jumpstart implementation with you, where it's typically a pay-for implementation, professional services. But anybody here tonight, in honor of us being invited, we'd like to extend that to you. Just reach out to me afterward. And also, like I think the other two presenters, we're hiring. In particular, in the New York area, we'd like to hire enterprise sales rep and sales engineers and sales consultants. So if anybody knows the BI space, who knows big data, anybody who's really strong in that area, we'd love to hear about them. Thank you. There are questions?
So it looks like a really, really awesome front end GUI, but one question I had was, like, if you're like Gillette, right, and you're looking at a lot of the analytics internally, can you actually share it with people outside of the company, like a Walmart buyer?
Sure.
And collaborate and audit and do security on the trends?
Absolutely. So I didn't talk about the security model. It's very big. And we have customers, Barnes & Noble is an example. They're sharing metrics with over 200 external publishers using our product. And it's all done on a permissions basis. So each tile can have its own permissions based on groups, based on Active Directory, LDAP, et cetera. And then for security monitoring. So it's very good for external sharing of data. And we have a lot of use cases of that.
Does this require someone to actually take action on the insights that it's serving up from the disparate data set? Or does it have some level of automation as well?
I'm not sure.
So for example, one of the things you could put in there will be point of sale information. Maybe you're putting in some social. You're building these really granular profiles for the consumer. And you say, now is the time to send this person a special offer.
Right.
To have that level of automation to it.
Yeah. So the answer is yes. At the end of the day, we're a Kpi Warehouse. So if you go in and determine that this, measuring this consumer behavior, let me know when the bottom quintile of users hit a certain area, and let me know. Then either a user can be alerted, or programmatically we could trigger a web service or another system to actually take action as well. So the alerts don't actually just have to go to the people; they can go to another system as well.
So you mentioned that the biggest problem you're solving is increasing the engagement of end users with BI tools, and you mentioned pushing things to email is one of the ways how to get people to pay attention and alerting them to events outside of standardization. Are there any other kind of tools or tricks or hacks how we can get this number up to make sure that actually people pay attention and are engaged and act on the insights?
Yeah. So just that we see them at a 70% engagement level. So we blow away the 15% number, and it's kind of obvious because we're sending emails and drawing people in, but that works, right? So it's working. Other things we do is every object that you saw is embeddable. So if there's other places where people are spending their time, you can take the tiles, you can take groups of tiles, and you can then embed those in other dashboards and other places where they spend time. There's a big screen view where you can have a monitor up on in a wall in a room and have things cycle through, like just the critically changing things cycle through, so you can see those things. So there are a number of different ways to do that.
Now, a lot of the customers that you have displayed up there are very, very large enterprises. Am I correct in thinking that's your target market, or do you have products for other smaller businesses as well?
So we have two types of customers. We have big organizations that have 5 BI tools and multiple projects and different groups. The other end of the spectrum is we have small data-driven companies. So we have websites. We have people who are just they're desperately, their business just depends on data. And our alerting in that environment is actually very strong on the long tail, which is people tend to focus on the high-level metrics. But we were talking to one very large e-tailer, and they said, for instance, if their sales stops in Sweden, they sell in 150 countries. If their sales stops in Sweden, then the overall sales number, it doesn't affect their overall sales number, but it might be days before somebody noticed that happened. So they're like, in the long tail, we want to get an alert when something statistically significant changes out there, and we'll otherwise just ignore it, and then let us know when that's changed. And, oh, wow, something's changed. Let's go take a look at that now. And the alternative is usually at the end of the month, somebody will be pouring through and say, hey, 4 weeks ago, something changed, and we're just now noticing it 4 weeks later. So, yeah, so smaller companies that are very data-driven are also a good customer for us. Please.
Two-part question.
Sure.
Why is the engagement percentage an important metric? Surely, if your business is driven by the data, you'll look at it. And then the second question is, what is the value proposition for Tableau? Why are they not building their own push delivery system and enhancing their own alerting?
Yep. So the first question is surely they're looking at the data? Well, the answer is they're not. And there's not just us saying this. We have a lot of BI people who've been doing this for years. But Gartner estimates that that BI is 70% underutilized in the enterprise. And just anecdotally, you talk to the pattern that we've seen and we hear over and over again is there's a BI director and they have a data scientist and this powerful analytics team. And all these people, they spend a lot of their time making PowerPoint and then emailing them to executives because those people aren't using the tools. So the thing that's being swept under the rug is people actually aren't using the tools, and there's a whole bunch of investment being made, and there's a big conflict there in the enterprise. Second question is if you look at a Tableau or another tool, they're extremely strong at data discovery, right? It's the ability to go in and change things around, et cetera, et cetera. When you have an environment like that, where you can change anything, it makes it very hard to have fixed threshold alerting. Because if anybody can change anything, then what's the schema by which you're governing an alert? So it's that Kpi Warehouse architecture that we have, where it enables us to do all that stuff very simply for free. But here's the thing is we don't do data discovery in that traditional sense, which is why we're partners with these people. And so if somebody wants to swim in the data, an analyst wants to do all the things, you can't do that with our tool because we don't have the underlying data in our Kpi Warehouse. So there's this funny, it works out where it's a very complementary process that we have, and they'll do some level of alerting, they said it's strategic to them, and they'll do stuff over time, but they might also say that the level of stuff that we can do, the turnkey nature of what we're doing, might be difficult with their architecture. If you ask them, they might answer that way. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody. Thanks.